Hey, soccer fans and betting aficionados. Welcome back to another episode of Sons of a Pitch Soccer Central betting picks and predictions. We are going to look at all the games this upcoming weekend in MLS, August 5th through August 6th. Right now, it's Wednesday night, August 3rd, and we're going to lock in our picks and predictions for this upcoming weekend. We are going to look at the PointsBet website this week for the odds and the matchups. And we'll see if we can't make some money and have a little fun in the process. I am Nick. I am one of your hosts here on SOP Soccer Central. I want to thank you for joining me. And if you watch any of these videos, you know that we do a little bit of betting advice and then we get into our picks. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, if you've been following the league, you know that they're starting to get into some weeknight games. There's a bit of a congested schedule coming back. In fact, tonight, Wednesday, August 3rd, there are 10 MLS teams that are in action. So always make sure that you look at the schedule of the team you're betting on, that you look at the roster before it comes out, if not the day of, right before you make your picks, because you never know who might have picked up an injury, who's not at 100%, and which players the coach might be rotating to get into some more important games. Honestly, there are people out there who probably bet early, get some good odds, and then when they see the rosters come out right before game time, they make a few other bets just to hedge a little bit, right? Also, in that exact same kind of thinking, watch for cross-conference games. If you have an Eastern Conference team struggling to make the playoffs against a Western Conference team who is a lock in the top four, then you know what? You might want to bet on that Eastern Conference team, even though they might not be the odds-on favorite. They got a lot more to play for. So make sure you're looking at these cross-conference games and where some of these teams sit in the table. Also, don't bet with your heart. That's why take my Chicago picks with a grain of salt, because I really want to see them do well. And as always, set your limits. Now, before we get into our picks, I want to leave you with a quote from Terry Murphy, who says, "A gambler never makes the same mistake twice. It's usually 2 or 3 more times." Well, hopefully that's not the case for you, unless you were betting on the Seattle Sounders to win their last several games. But let's get right into the picks and predictions. So first up, we have the San Jose Earthquakes. Nope, those are the games from tonight. Like I said, watch what you're betting. The first game of this upcoming weekend is Vancouver Whitecaps hosting the Houston Dynamo, and I have to go with the Whitecaps on this one. I know Houston looks like the favorite. In fact, the draw has the odds to be the correct pick, but Houston, they just look bad. They have not been able to find any offense. They just got trounced 6-0 to Philly, and now they have to go all the way out to Vancouver, a Vancouver team who is starting to play a little better, who picked up their first trophy of the season up in the Canadian Championship last weekend against rival Toronto. I think Vancouver's feeling pretty good, and I'm going to give them the advantage at home. Next game up, we have the Atlanta United against the Seattle Sounders. Now, I was just joking a minute ago about how Seattle was on such a losing streak. I think it was 4 in a row, and at least 3 of those they went scoreless in. However, in this game, I am going to go with Seattle. I think after their latest victory, a hard-fought one, where we saw Rui Diaz get back into the game, albeit he was a second-half substitution, I think that Seattle's starting to feel better, starting to recover a little bit, and they're going to come in with a lot of confidence against an Atlanta team who fought and scrapped their way to a 0-0 draw at Chicago last week. I'm going to go with the Sounders here, even though they are the favorites. What's interesting, though, is they have the same odds as the draw on this one. So this might be one of those games you can bet, and then closer to kickoff time, you make another wager to hedge a little bit. Next game on the slate, Charlotte is hosting the aforementioned Chicago Fire. And, I really want to pick the Fire because I really want to see them do well. But then again, Charlotte is now coming off of a postponement against Columbus, and then tonight on Wednesday just went final, a 3-0 victory over bottom dweller DC United. So Chicago is not DC, at least the recent run of form certainly doesn't suggest that. But the fact that we're in Charlotte, and Charlotte's coming off of a bit of a short break, and Chicago is playing better, I'm going to actually take the draw for this one. Charlotte to draw Chicago. The next game, Cincinnati is hosting the Philadelphia Union. Now, this one's a tough one because we know how good Philly has been. They just hung 6 on a Houston Dynamo team, right? But we know Cincinnati is struggling to get back into the win column after some draws here. Philly in the chase for a supporter shield. Cincy in the chase for a playoff spot for the first time in their franchise history. I'm going to take the odds favorite and take the draw on this one. I think Philly's defense is just going to be too good to keep Cincinnati from scoring, 3 and 4 goals. And Philly's offense has come into its own. I like the draw in Cincinnati. Next matchup, CF Montreal is hosting Inter Miami. So Miami traveling all the way across the border, and they are the favorites in this one, and for good reason. Montreal is playing tonight. Then again, they're playing against the Columbus Crew. The game just went into severe weather postponement. We'll see if that delay continues to play out, if they have to reschedule it, or if Montreal ends up playing the rest of this game at some ungodly hour tonight, which can only help Miami. That and the fact Miami is coming off probably their best game of the season, albeit it was a draw. As far as an offensive performances are concerned, it may have been their best game of the season. So I'm going to take Miami, even though they are plus 400 on this one. I think they're going to get up there, and I think they're going to get a surprise win in Montreal. DC United is hosting the New York Red Bulls. This is a big rivalry game, and you never know what can happen in these rivalry games. But if you are going to know what happens in a rivalry game, this might be the one that you pick. DC United has not looked good. They had that incredible comeback against Orlando, but that magic, I think, was a one-time thing. I don't think lightning is striking twice for DC, though given the weather delays for Columbus, maybe it'll strike twice for Columbus. I'm going to take the Red Bulls in this one. I think they are just a better team. A lot of people are calling the Red Bulls frauds, that they're not as good as their record or their standings suggest, given especially their recent results. But I think those are just kind of jealous NYCFC fans or hater NYCFC fans. Anyway, I got the Red Bulls to win at DC. Next matchup, Orlando City versus the New England Revolution. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So maybe I'm insane for picking Orlando, but I finally think this is the game their offense can actually score 2 or more goals. New England just traded Sebastian Legit. They brought in their new striker, Giacomo Vrioni. I don't know if he's going to be fit. They got rid of Josie Altidore. So I think New England is in like a transition week here. And Orlando already had a week to get their new signing, Nicholas Gioacchini, involved into the game. I think he's going to be a lot better. I'm going to pick Orlando City at home in this one. Next, the Columbus Crew hosting NYCFC. And I'm picking the away team. I'm taking NYCFC. The odds say this is going to be a draw, but I think that this is, NYCFC's game. Columbus has had these crazy postponements. They haven't had their offense clicking like it did after their signing of Cucho Hernandez. And New York City is just a very, very consistent team, whether at home and on the road. So I'm taking New York City in this one, maybe going against some of the trends here and some of the odds. Next matchup has Nashville hosting Toronto FC. And on this one, I'm taking Nashville at home. They're the heavy favorites on this one, so I'm going to stick with it, though. I think there's a big reason they're favorites. Toronto's Italians, other than that first half a few weeks back where they hung 4 goals in a game, they really haven't done anything, and it was a very disappointing game against Vancouver. Toronto still has a lot of issues to figure out on their back line, and Nashville has just been mediocre for too long. Even though they're having a very good season, I think they have been mediocre as of late, and this is their bounce back. We've got Shaq Moore, the new USMNT international, who will be playing for Nashville in his first game. He's an outside back. He's a wing back. I think he's going to provide a new dimension of attack for Nashville, and you'll see them win this game. Next up, we have a struggling LA Galaxy team traveling to an even worse Sporting Kansas City team. I'm actually going to pick the Galaxy in this one, even though they're on the road. I think the Galaxy are starting to figure things out. I say that I'm not very confident in this pick because, with Sporting Kansas City getting knocked out of the U.S. Open Cup in the semifinals, that was kind of their one chance to do something this season of meaning. And now it's just trying not to be the worst team in MLS. Like, that's their goal at this point. I think they're way too far out of the playoff race. So maybe they come out trying to win against the struggling Galaxy team, but I think that they're struggling just a little bit more. I'm going to go with the Galaxy on this one. Austin then hosts the San Jose Earthquakes in the next game, and there's a reason Austin are heavy favorites. Not only are they the home team, but they are probably the best offensive team if you look at their stats across the entire league. So this one, to me, Austin versus San Jose. And if you like prop bets, this is the over. Take the over on this one. I don't know what the line is. I can't say for sure, but I think there's going to be probably 5 goals in this game. Next, Colorado Rapids are hosting Minnesota United, and I think Minnesota just won the recent matchup on this one, but I'm going to pick them again to win this matchup. Even though Colorado is at minus 135 being the home team, Minnesota has had an excellent run of form lately, and I think they're going to continue that. I don't think Colorado is as good of a team as a lot of people are giving credit for. Now, again, maybe that's just my bias. I'm not a huge fan of their coach, but maybe it's just I don't believe that they took the first place in the West last year. So this could be a little bit of my bias showing, but I still think Minnesota is the better team, and I think they get the win on the day. Next matchup, Real Salt Lake is hosting LAFC, and you got to pick LAFC. I think it's that simple. A lot of what I base my kind of understanding of MLS on is the phrase, you are what you are until you're not. And LAFC is the best team in the league until they get knocked out of the playoffs or until Philly goes on like a 5-game win streak or something like that, right? LAFC is the best team in the league, and I'm going to pick them to win just about all their games from here on out. And the final game of the weekend, the Portland Timbers hosting FC Dallas. Now, Dallas is getting plus 230. The draw is getting plus 260, but I am going to go with the Timbers at home. Now, we talked about in our last rundown, our recap on Mondays, which, by the way, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get into the chats for all of our Monday night recaps where we talk all headlines, recap the games and highlights, and also commiserate on some of our picks as well. Those are every Monday night. So like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. I think the Timbers, even at plus 110, are going to win this game. I think they're at home. I know they're at home, and I think they play better at home, and they're finally getting healthy. We did talk about how Felipe Mora, I believe, is out with season-ending surgery, but that they still have Nishgoda, they still have Sebastian Blanco, they still have the Chara brothers, and their goalkeeper, I think it's Ivicic maybe, he's still playing pretty good. So I think that Columbus, even though Dallas has an excellent offense, Columbus at home, they know how to absorb pressure. They are made for these games against Dallas, against these better offensive teams, and I think they'll hit them on the counter, and I think they'll take advantage of it, again, especially being at home. So to recap all of my picks, let me go ahead and throw up the graphic here for you, my little chart. This is what I've got for this week. I have Vancouver over Houston, Atlanta drawing Seattle, Charlotte drawing Chicago, Cincinnati drawing Philly. I have Montreal losing to Miami, Red Bulls over DC, Orlando over New England, New York City to beat Columbus, Nashville to beat Toronto, the Galaxy to beat struggling Kansas City, Austin over San Jose, Minnesota over Colorado, LAFC, the best team, continues to get better, beating Salt Lake, and then Portland defeating Dallas at home. So just to kind of recap again, last week was a good week for me. I went 7-4, not counting that Charlotte Columbus postponement game. I'll consider that one a push and won't put it into my numbers, but I am back to almost 500 on the season, 39-41. And you know what? I'm going to take it. I'm pretty happy with that. Considering there's 3 outcomes and I'm about 500, I'm going to consider that a win. What you really got to watch out for are those draws, right? Those are the tough ones. I don't think I'm rarely picking losers, but it's hard to pick a winner and the game ends up a draw, or you pick a draw and somehow one of these teams finds a winner. But that's the excitement of the MLS. So if you have any insight on any one of these particular teams that you think might give you the edge, go for it. Hedge your bets a little bit. See what you can do. So with that, fans, bettors, pickers, and predictors, SO peeps, I appreciate you all watching this video. Be sure to like it, subscribe, leave a comment below, and let us know what you think are your picks. If you got any great over-unders or other sort of prop bets, players to score, I know that one's been very popular in Chicago, like picking a player to score in a game, especially because you have so many offensive weapons, right? You could probably put a couple bucks on either Chris Mueller or Xherdan Shaqiri to score a goal, and you might get lucky on a set piece, right? And lately, their captain, Rafa Chihos, has had 3 goals off of set pieces himself, despite being a center back. So, hey, if you got a couple extra bucks to play with, throw something on Chihos to score a goal, and you never know what might happen. Anyway, that's kind of something fun that we've talked about in our Chicago soccer circles here. But again, please like, subscribe, send a super chat and a super thanks if you like what we're doing. If you want to reach out and become a sponsor of the channel, whether you're a company or an individual just seeking to promote yourself, you can always follow along and message us on Twitter at SOP Soccer or via email, sonsofapitchsoccer@gmail.com. And we look forward to hearing your comments below, how much fun you're having, who you're picking, how you're winning. And you know what? If you need to, we can be a shoulder to cry on. A virtual shoulder, of course. But let us know your story in the comments or send us a message, and we'll be happy to communicate with you on that. So I will leave you with my picks for a few more seconds, and then we'll go ahead and wrap. But until next time, enjoy the matches, and good luck.